This fight, this episode of My Hero Academia, holy fucking shit. This episode was absolutely amazing. By far, my favorite episode that this series has put out thus far. Favorite in season 2, favorite overall. And just to show how excited I am, I usually take notes on each episode on what I want to talk about. I took no notes whatsoever just watching this. The only thing I wrote down was just Izuku versus Todoroki equals amazing. This episode, honestly, if you are not watching My Hero Academia, start now and get up to this point, because this episode, from beginning to end, from the music, the animation, the dialogue, the character fight between Izuku and Todoroki was absolutely amazing. Like, honestly, I have no other words to even describe this episode. Go watch this episode right now if you have not yet. You need to watch this episode. This has been built up since the beginning of season 2. Even from the opening, where we even see the shot of Izuku going up against Todoroki. But ever since episode 2 of this season, Todoroki has been after Izuku. And throughout this entire UA Sports Festival, Todoroki has been trying to one-up Midoriya. And we finally get that confrontation. The fated climactic fight between these two characters. And I gotta say, they knocked it out of the park. Just watching Izuku break all of his fingers with his quirk of One for All, trying to give his best against Todoroki, while Todoroki is basically only at half strength, using the right side of his powers, the ice power. But I'm like watching Izuku just break all of his fingers and just going in like a boss. I was like, yo, this episode was so good. Even the dialogue that Midoriya was talking with and just like yelling and explaining to Todoroki to use his full strength. I was like, yo, I am absolutely mesmerized by this episode. We also got some great interactions from the crowd, but also with Bakugo and Kirishima. That fight I'm really looking forward to as well. But also just seeing Endeavor and also the backstory of Todoroki's character, getting to see the abusive household he actually came from. And I gotta say, when his mother, I thought she was a total shithead for, abusing Todoroki and also, burning half of his face. But Endeavor is just as equally, if not worse, the biggest asshole in that household. Not only did he put his wife in the hospital, but she left after that. Oh my God, that is tragic as hell. But also seeing how Todoroki as a child, watching the same video, the same thing that Deku used to watch of All Might, his first appearance, and seeing how that inspired him to become a hero, but also having Endeavor as a parent and being the runner-up to All Might, you kind of get why Todoroki at a very young age was crying and saying, I don't want to be like Dad. I don't want to be a hero. And all of this emotion and build-up just welled up inside Todoroki to the point to where Izuku finally pushed him to the point to where he used his fire quirk. He used fire and ice. And that climactic end. I have no words to even describe that climactic end. Just watching Cementos and also Midnight, trying to stop the fight when you have this climactic clash with Izuku going full power, breaking his leg, and also using what remains of his arm to charge at Todoroki. Meanwhile, Todoroki is charging up his fire and ice attack, and that huge blast at the very end. You just see the whole Coliseum up in smoke. You're like, holy shit. And I was waiting for the episode to end. I was like, is it going to end here? It's still going. They clash. Is it going to end here? Is that going to be the cliffhanger we get? It still went. And I didn't even notice until the very end of the episode when Izuku was knocked out of the ring and Todoroki won the match that the title screen never showed up at the beginning of the episode. It showed up at the very end of the episode. And I was like, holy shit. I was so engrossed with this episode. I didn't even realize the title screen did not come up until the very end. This episode was absolutely amazing. This is probably just more of a reaction. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people reacting to this episode, and I'm actually looking forward to that as well, because this episode was A+ material, the best episode of season 2, best episode of My Hero Academia thus far. The facial expressions, the animation, just the emotion went into these characters was just so good. Go out and watch this episode. And this episode right here makes me really want to start reading the manga. I really want to start reading it, but I also don't want to get spoiled on the rest of season 2 of My Hero Academia. So I'm at a bit of a conundrum right now where I desperately want to go and read the manga. And so probably after the season ends, I do plan reading the manga. I want to get into the series. This series is just so much fun just to watch, but to read it, I'm looking at some of the poses in this episode, and I bet they are exactly like the manga. Like Izuku's face and just the drive and determination he had when he was just breaking his fingers and then breaking his broken fingers again, watching them go from red to purple. I was like, yo, I love this series so much. This is absolutely amazing. This episode was 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10, 100. It was just absolutely amazing. I love this episode, but I want to hear from you guys. What did you love about this episode? And if you didn't love this episode, please let me know why you guys did not like this episode. But honestly, I absolutely loved it, and I hope you guys did as well. Give me your thoughts on this episode. Oh man, this episode was just so good. That ending though, that is the best ending you could have possibly put into this episode. And another thing I have to point out before I even end this review, what I love, what My Hero Academia is doing, is that these fights are not drawn out. This fight was one episode, but it was action-packed. It was fast-paced, but you could follow everything. It made sense for these characters. You know, you have the suicidal quirk of Izuku where he's just breaking his limbs, but then you have the powerhouse of Todoroki. I love what My Hero Academia is doing with these fights. Not drawn out. They get right to the point, right to the action, and you're one and done. I absolutely love it, and I really can't wait to see what the hell is going to happen with Izuku going into the next episode, because is he going to be able to heal properly? Because they were even pointing out in this episode that Recovery Girl might not be able to heal the injuries that he's going to sustain in this fight. So I love that there's going to be consequences possibly for Izuku's power, where he just can't keep constantly breaking his limbs in order to win matches. And Aizawa has pointed this out to him, so I'm really looking forward to see where that goes, but also what the hell is going to be the next match. I'm trying to think who it is. I know we have Bakugo going against Kirishima. I think we have Tenya going against someone else. And I know we have Tokiyami and also Ibara still to go. So there's so much more that I'm just really looking forward to. But we're not even at the final match yet of this tournament, and yet this was the most action-packed episode yet. So again, leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me guys know your thoughts on this episode. I just can't wait for next week's episode. So until episode 11 next week, I will talk with you guys later. All right, guys, see you later. And remember, Plus Ultra.